Hello and welcome to the Perception Podcast. I am your host, Thomas Casey Zellers, and today we are hopefully going to change your perception on things that you thought you already knew. And joining me today virtually is Justin Stieneker, who, for some of my casual viewers, may remember Jake Stieneker. This is his brother, Justin. So, Justin, I'm glad to have you on the show. This is gonna be a bit of a heavy episode, I'm sure, but we'll still be able to, I'm sure, find some laughs and still have a good time.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It'll be yeah, I feel like that's just life in general. Like there's always going to be times where you're going to cry, but there's going to be laughing moments too. So,
Yeah. Yeah, something my dad always told me was, "When it's good, it's fun, and when it's bad, it's funny." So,
yes. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you got to just laugh. That's what my coworkers and I say sometimes.
yeah. Yeah, so today um, we are talking about, suicide prevention and bringing awareness to that, but also your time as well, um 'cause you've studied psychology, and that's, the field that you work in, correct?
Yep.
Gotcha,
Still studying.
gotcha,
I'm continuing. I start my practicum next January. So,
gotcha,
yeah.
gotcha. So yeah, go ahead and take the time now to just introduce yourself to the audience and
Yeah.
have fun.
I'm Jake's brother, Justin Stieneker. And I was a like I've had many titles. I have many different degrees. But the current one that I'm going with right now is I'm in the field of psychology. I have a bachelor's from Purdue University in the science of psychology, and then clinical mental health counseling from Butler. And then uh, soon in the next 10 years, I'll probably be a doctor in clinical psychology. So I can do studies and research and development. So it'll be my way of like shifting from being a therapist whenever I get older to being able to drop the clientele and just be able to still be in psychology, but like have that excuse of like retiring because it's hard to do that. I feel like for doctors, therapists, anyone in the helping profession, it's so hard to retire.
Mm.
So you almost have to have like that pre-game plan of like I gotta have something else so I have a reason to. But yeah, so that's my current field. I also have an associate's in audio engineering, and I worked in the music business in Nashville, Tennessee for 3 years. Did live sound. So that was like that was I was so young at that time, and I'll probably get into that later
Mhm.
whenever I talk about my story. But that was my first degree, and then I became a certified personal trainer for like 6 months, and it didn't work out because I was in such a rural area. So then I went and did veterinary. Was a veterinary assistant for 9 years, and then now I'm switching. The last 3 years have been psychology.
Yeah.
Like I said, man,
Yeah, so
like
you've done a little bit of everything.
I know. It was just me trying to figure out who I was, I think.
Mm.
That was just me in a very expensive way figuring it out.
Yeah, sounds like it was, not a lot of fun for the parents, I'm sure.
No, no. I I think they only paid for my first degree. Everything else I had to figure out how to do it on my own. I'm still paying some of those bills today. So,
Yeah. So, sticking with psychology here, and I guess really before we kinda get into the deeper stuff, what can you say about, how you kinda got into psychology and what really attracted you to it, and well, how's that now become, your most, recent passion?
sorry, I'm gonna put my phone off this desk. It's gonna
That's
be
alright.
loud. Um, ooh, that's almost like a hard question to answer without diving into like the story, my story, but just life experience. And then
Okay.
I have ADHD, so I have like these moments where I hyper focus on things. And for right now, it's just
Yep.
absorbing like understanding humans and like more myself than humans, because like every individual I truly believe is inherently different if you get to the minute details, you know. And
Mhm.
so for me, I uh, I just love like understanding like how I work and like right now I'm in neurobiology and understanding the brain and the nervous system, and I'm picking up things that I'm like, oh yeah, 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 like that makes sense to me. Like that's how my brain works. But like how the brain operates on just a general large scale, some of my brain doesn't operate that way. So like it's very fascinating, even in the like biological setup, just how different we can be. It's quite fascinating. I read a study, and see, I'm already getting so excited about it. But I read a study just recently done for Alzheimer's people. They brought in people who had Alzheimer's from age 70 to 80. And then they brought
Mm.
in people who are the what is it, Generation Z, the kids above our generation. They I'm not sure what they're called, but anyway, they're like the early
I'm forgetting
20s,
there's
and
Gen Alpha, Gen Z, and,
oh my
all that sort of
gosh,
stuff
yeah, too
nowadays. I
many.
don't even remember. Yeah.
I just know my own. But
Yep.
they brought like 19, 20-year-old kids, like just 19 and 20-year-old kids, and they
Mhm.
wanted to see like how the younger kids uh make the people who have Alzheimer's like their brains operate. So they like put all these things that are go in your head with like these little tacks that pick up the brain waves and like the different areas of the brain, and they found something so much more fascinating, so much broader, that the older people were having the younger people trigger parts of their brain that they haven't been triggering ever
Mm.
in their lives. And then the young people are triggering stuff that the older people haven't ever really triggered probably since they were that age, you know? And so they found like the older people were training the younger people's brains just as much as the younger people were doing the older people. It's really fascinating. They're working different
Huh.
muscles in the brain that just hadn't been worked on. And so like I don't know, I love that stuff. So
Yeah.
just learning about humans is my full drive. Just giving you a
Yeah.
glimpse.
Have you ever seen, gosh, I'm trying to remember it, but it's a Robin Williams movie with, Robert De Niro, and Robert De Niro's his Alzheimer's patient, and he
Yes,
actually
yes.
brings back I'm forgetting the name of it right now. It's one of my mom would be killing me right now because she loves that movie.
Yes,
But you know
yes.
which one I'm talking about, right?
It's a,
Yeah.
there's two or three Robin Williams movies that just utterly make me cry. That's one. Good Will
Uh-huh.
Hunting's another, and then
Yeah.
I can't think of the other one where he like dresses up like a clown and he has the red nose and he like cheers up patients and stuff. Can't remember that one either.
Oh,
It's
do
been
you know
years
that?
since I've seen that one. But
No? Okay. Alright.
I mean, it like all three of those make me cry. I'd have to say Good
Yeah.
Will Hunting is one that I've only watched like two or three times, but I think Robin Williams really understood psychology to
Mhm.
like in a level that a lot of people didn't understand. Um,
Yeah.
like he didn't realize, should I say, not understand, but didn't realize like because like he had a lot of movies where even though there was humor, but there was also just like those gut punches. You're just like,
Mhm. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 The you said Good Will Hunting, and I watched that movie recently, actually, and, yeah, it's gets me every time. So,
yeah. I mean, it's a great. I like the scene where uh they're talking about I think it was the Boston Red Sox World Series, and
yeah.
it was considered one of the greatest World Series of all time. And he was telling him like he had an opportunity to go to that game, but instead he decided to go. on a date with his wife, his
Mhm.
first date, and the guy
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. And he's like, "Why didn't you go?" And he's like, "I had to see about a girl." He's like, "There's a million girls." He's like, "Of course there is, but there
Yeah,
was
and
only
he's like,
her."
"Dude, I don't care if Helena Troy walks in that bar, like, I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
the
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
yeah."
That
Whenever
scene
you
always gets me.
see whenever you see movies that do psychology like that, now actually having done it yourself, like, are there certain things that, kinda bug you or like, "Yeah, they got that right," or like, "This part isn't right?" Like, are you able to kinda see it now or a little bit, or
Yeah, I think it's all opinion and perspective personally, but there are some
okay.
things that I'll watch nowadays and I'm like, oh, like, no, that's not really how it actually operate,
That's
or
just
that's
not really
no.
how we do it,
Typically,
yeah.
those questions aren't really asked, especially in like first sessions or certain studies that they did. I'd be like, that would not fly in today's society. Like, there's no way. The code of ethics and the laws that are behind certain things that those wouldn't happen anymore. And then like I think how behavioral health units, or what they call now, or psych units, aren't typically like what movies portray them.
Mm,
Don't get me wrong. There are days where uh, I'll be on my unit and it's like you do see in the movies, but those are like once in a blue moon times. A lot of the
mm,
times, like the people that are on our unit are a lot more complex and not quite as dramatized, I guess.
mm,
I don't know how else to say it. It's
yeah.
just
No,
more
no, no.
dramatized, I think.
Yeah.
And I think, like, for instance, I feel like schizophrenic people will get a bad rap due to movies. And in reality, like, I've worked with so many in my job now, and not once did I ever like come across that with schizophrenics. They're actually quite friendly, and they're they find like comedy in any situation that even sometimes may seem a bit different, but the minute you talk to them and they explain how they found that funny, you're like, oh, like okay, like I see, I understand your perspective now. But yeah, I think like that's just one example of like how Hollywood dramatized something so much that it has like a negative stigma to it. So there are
Right,
times where I'm
because
like, wish you wouldn't have done that. Like I wish you wouldn't have said that, because now people are gonna see this and be like, oh, if someone's like this, they're everyone's like this, but not
yeah,
typically, not typically. Now,
yeah,
like borderline personality disorders are the ones that worry me more than schizophrenics.
gotcha, gotcha, yeah, because everything is really kinda on a spectrum, but it really seems
Mhm.
like to sell drama and make money, Hollywood always goes to, like, the extreme end of the
Dream.
spectrum.
Mhm. Most of the
So,
time, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Uh, and yeah, I don't know. I haven't experienced someone with schizophrenia at that level. Like I said, like
mhm,
maybe some borderline personality disorder people I have seen where I haven't felt the safest in a room with them, but outside of that, really like it's like I said, once in a blue moon. And it's not
mhm,
really like that these days, I don't think.
yeah, I getcha, I getcha.
Maybe because we have a better understanding. I don't know.
Yeah, medicine has definitely changed since, like, the '60s and '70s for sure, and, new
Yes,
studies and
yes.
all that sort of stuff, so, who knows? Maybe you'll find something new that, has never been tried before. Maybe that'll
I
be
hope
part of your
so.
legacy
I
there,
would
you know?
love if I could do that, but if not, I'm okay with that too. As long as I just
Mhm.
help one person, I'll be okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I brought it up at the beginning of the show. We're talking about suicide and suicide prevention and awareness and all that
Mhm.
sort of stuff. And you do have quite a deep and trying story. Um, so, As long as you're comfortable, then by all means, I say that, we just kinda jump right into it and
Sure.
I'll let you just kinda take it away from there and yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how long this podcast goes, but I think I can go a little bit deeper into like the makings of it because whenever I did the red carpet, I had to condense everything into 10 minutes, but I also had to ensure that, and I'll probably leave out some details also. So just because I wanted to avoid like any copycats or or to even bother someone. And I knew there was also kids there, so I had to like really condense all of that into one. So it seemed like it was an
Mhm,
acute moment, but there were a lot of moments throughout my life, looking back on my childhood and how I was raised. Not saying like I had terrible parents, but every single parent makes mistakes. And all it takes is one because like our brains don't fully develop but before we're like 25 to 29. And I give that range because females start earlier, like their front and back lobes connect at a younger age, and men kind of lag a little bit. Um, no surprise there.
yeah,
Uh,
for all the dumb
I
stuff
I
we
just hear
do,
my
yeah.
wife being like, I don't think his is ever." But but yeah, yeah. So like, I'll start at least whenever I left my home. So I graduated high school, and then like I was a pretty anxious child. I had a lot of energy, and that was my ADHD, and with that comes like just a hyper focus on things. I and I was 19, I think, and I moved to Nashville. I moved to Nashville, and
I
I
don't mean
say I
to
was such
interrupt
an
you, but
anxious person.
you have some brothers. Are you the middle? Or are you the youngest,
Oh
or
yes, yeah, I'm the middle child. Yep. So me and
okay,
me and my older brother are closer in age, and then Jake is 4 years apart from me, 6 years apart
okay,
from Josh. Um, but I think me and Jake uh, bonded whenever Josh graduated and left. Like that's when me and Jake kind of really started getting closer.
okay.
Uh, I mean, I think all three of us have always innately been pretty close to each other. I mean, at one point we lived in this house actually that I bought from Josh. We all three lived in this house at
Yeah.
one point together. So I mean, and we got along pretty good actually.
That's
I
good.
think I'm very blessed with my brothers that I have, and we're all
Yeah.
three pretty different. I think me and Jake are closer in personality than me and Josh, but yeah, so I moved and I had a roommate for a while, and he was a professional chef, so I got like the most amazing meals every day, and I didn't have to shop as much. But I only had him for a little bit, and then I bought my own apartment on Music Row, and I lived in this really small old like apartment that hadn't been updated since 1955, I think. So I had lead paint walls. I had like the old lead fridge that you would open
Oh,
up,
wow.
and like this massive sink, and then I had a like what are those? The lion tubs, the little claw tubs, and then they like
Oh, yeah,
put
yeah,
a,
yeah,
a
I've seen those, yeah.
shower. They attached
Yeah,
a shower head that had like duct tape at the top. Um, yeah, yeah, it was,
that's awesome.
yeah, yeah. I was living the life, man. Living as a poor musician and aspiring artist. Um, and I was very reclusive at that point, and I was left to my own the I was left alone to sit with myself a lot of the times. I had friends by the time I was a junior in college, I think, and I would start going out to sporting events and doing stuff a little bit more, but still more times than not, I was really by myself, and there were moments of like just sitting in my kitchen and just crying, like just being sad and not really knowing why, and so much anxiety because I was starting to get in the music business. I was in live sound at that point, and I was working for some really big artists. I
Mhm.
was working for like Black Keys, Katy Perry, One Direction at one point, and just doing all of these jobs that were bringing good money, and and I don't know, uh, I was being overworked a lot too, I think, at that point, and being in that environment was very bad for me because everybody's just the absolute worst. You don't I learned kind of quickly that you don't tell them anything personal because they'll use it against you if they need
Really?
to either get on top or to keep you working. To be like,
Really?
oh, like I don't have an example for myself, so like I'll make one up. Like, let's say if I
Yeah.
shared like a story about how my dad's setters did something like this and it made me look weak, and I ever since then I've just felt like this weak person. If you share that with them, they're gonna be like, oh, your dad was right, you are a weak person unless you like continue to work. Because I remember whenever I was working for Katy Perry, I worked 72 hours straight. So I would work all through the night, setting up stages and getting the AMV set up, and then I would go home, eat like a quick breakfast, and then try to take like a 2 hour nap if I could, and then go to class, which would last until the afternoon. I'd go to classes, and then after that, then I'd have to get changed and to my uniform, and then go back and do it again. And I remember I was driving back after uh, class one time, and I blacked out. I actually ended up becoming conscious in somebody's yard, and uh, and the guy was like kind of holding me, and he was like, "Hey, like I got the ambulance coming." He's like, he's like, "You just need to lay here." He's like, "Don't get up." And I just once I got to the emergency room, my old roommate who I told you about picked me up once I got out, which was not till the next day. And all the doctor said, he's like, "Hey man, like your blood pressure got really low." He's like, "And you just need rest." So then after that, like my job kind of gave me a week off, and like I just went to class and came home. And so that environment was kind of what I did. And I remember I was in 3 foot of snow in Cleveland, and they call like the studio that I was working for called me and said, "Hey, do you want to like renew your contract?" And I said, "Absolutely not. Like I'm going home. I'm done. I've been doing this for 2 years. It's not for me. It's not for me." And for me to do that as a kid made me feel like such a failure because like when you're a teenager and you're getting out of high school, and the job you choose or the career you choose, you feel like I have to make it. Like I have to make it.
Yeah.
Like there was that
Yeah.
unrelenting pressure of I have to make it.
Yeah.
So
It's a
going
lot of
home,
pressure for an 18-year-old to decide what it is they wanna do for the rest of their life, you know?
exactly, and
Yeah.
and with me being an anxious person, and just having all that like unnecessary guilt and stuff weighing on me as well. And I didn't know I was carrying it. Like I had no idea. Like I had no idea. Looking back now, I see it, but I didn't know that.
Mhm.
Like I was holding it physically in my body, and I was holding it mentally. And that bugged me for a long time. Like I never made it. And I always tried. Once I got a little bit better, I rested for a few months, and I got better. I tried going back, and it just didn't work. Like I would get so close, and all I had to do was just accept the job, but I didn't for some reason, and I never knew why. I was like, gosh, like why didn't I take it? But innately, I think my like in the back of my mind, I was like, don't do this. Like, don't do this. You know what it's gonna be like. Don't do it.
Mhm.
And so I tried being a personal trainer, and I did good. It's just there wasn't enough money. I went back to my hometown, and there's not a lot of people, and I knew, and that kind of fit well, like being able to help others fit well. And um, Dr. Schaefer, who's a holistic vet, she does like acupuncture, chiropractic, ozone therapy, all kinds of alternative along with your traditional like giving antibiotics. And
Mhm.
she was like an integrative vet. She heard about me and my love for animals, and she remembered one time my younger brother and I were mowing, and I ran over a nest of rabbits, and Jake saw the last rabbit. It was a baby rabbit that had its ear chopped off or something. And Jake's like, "You got to take him to the vet." I was like, it's gonna die, man. Like we gotta just accept that I accidentally killed a huge nest of rabbits, and I feel gut-wrenchingly awful. Like you're making me feel worse. And so he convinced me, and she remembered that because that's who we took him to, and she fixed it. And we had the rabbit for 3 days, and then it had a stroke or something and died. But
Mm.
and so when she heard I came back to town, she literally just interviewed me over the phone, asked me 3 questions. I answered them. We hung up, and then I worked for her for 9 years. And
Wow.
within that 9 year period, I'd say that year seven, no, no, year 5 or 6 is whenever I had the event that I talked about. So at that point,
Okay.
I had such a negative view of myself, my life experiences, my genetic makeup, and just my idea of myself in the world was very poor at the time. And I didn't have a lot of money because they don't pay veterinary assistants very well. So I was barely scraping by every day.
How were you,
Um,
doing spiritually?
at that point, not very well. Not very well. I was going to church. I was just going to church just because I think I was going out more out of fear than anything, which is not the best reason to have a spiritual relationship in any religion or any spirituality or spiritual practice. It's not healthy when you're doing it out
Mhm.
of fear. But so it wasn't the best, I would say. That's a good question. I never really gave much thought about it. But and I remember I had flown to Chicago and I went to some sort of forum thing and I flew back and I was a wreck at this point. Like my car had a flat tire in the airport and I was like, how am I going to get this? So I literally, there was a gas station just up the road. So I drove with a flat tire, hoping that I didn't bend the rims of my car just to get free
Mhm.
air because it had free air. And so I aired up my tire and then I was able to get it home and patch it up. But there was just that, and I was an absolute like just hysterical mess. And for about 2 or 3 months, something shifted, and I think I was about 26 at the time, maybe 25, 26. So it's right there where your brain starts connecting, and once your frontal and back lobe connect, all of the repressed or unprocessed memories come flooding in. That's where you look back on your life and you're like, God, how did I think I was invincible? Why did I do that? Or if I would have got
Mm.
caught doing that, man, that would have been so embarrassing, or that's so inappropriate. Why did I do that?
So is
All
that
of those things. Yeah,
kinda like
your
the
maturity and
quarter life crisis or whatever they call it?
yeah, so that's typically around the time. So I had
Okay.
this storm where I had this anxiety, and then on top of it, like all of that was starting to shift over, and all of these things were just flooding, further solidifying that I'm just this terrible person, and that I'm like this mental nutter. Like I literally like if there's a madhouse, I have a membership, and I still feel that way. Like, but so there was all of that, and my parents didn't know how to deal with it because I didn't live with them at the time, so I visit them every day because I was getting scared of myself. Like I mentally I wasn't doing well, and then like I think about a month in, I remember like I think it was either my mother or my father, and this is not making them sound bad or anything, but I do remember a time where they're like, I think you might just be acting, like playing out, just trying to get attention. And at that point, I felt like, oh, well, they don't believe me, so I truly am on my own. So then I started repressing myself even more, you know,
Mm.
recluse, and it only got worse, right? Because you're just truly stuck. And I remember at that point, I was so far gone that like I started believing in things that just are not true, like delusional, and they're close to the breaking point for me is whenever I started seeing things moving out of the corner of my eyes, and I was like, oh, well, now I'm hallucinating, so now I probably will be in some psych ward for the rest of my life, never going to get married like I wanted to, never going to have a family. Then it drives you even further down. And it got to the point where my anxiety was so high that my body started rejecting food. So I would try to eat and I would just like purge it back up like a half hour later because I was so anxious. But I still ate every day. I ate at least 3 meals a day, knowing that I had to. Like it was a survival thing at that point. I needed the nutrients and the minerals, whatever I could get for the short time it was there. I was trying to eat, so I was losing weight too. I was getting weak, and on day three of that, I was at work and we were just doing small odds and ends things with my coworkers. Um, because the vet was out on a she had to do her CEUs, and so she went to a seminar, and so we're all kind of spread out in this clinic doing like deep cleaning, ensuring like our the kennels are good, so we're as sanitary as possible and stuff like that. And I was left alone, just having all of these chaotic thoughts just going. And I was like hearing a voice saying, like, do it. It was no other description, but innately and like at a conscious level, I kind of knew what like that voice in my head was telling me. And it was an audible one. And then finally, like I heard it, but this time it sounded like my coworker. And I turned around and it really was my coworker. She didn't say do it, but I think what she was doing was asking if I was okay. Because she looked in my eyes, and I could see in her eyes that she knew something was up. And like at that point, I was like gearing up to just explode. So I was like, I'm not feeling well. Like, I need to go home. And so on my way home, like, I decided to make a choice that wasn't the best choice. And I was like, okay, like, I'm gonna commit to this, like I'm gonna do this. And I got to the front porch and I finally opened the door. And I remember feeling like everything, like just all of the emotions, like so much feeling that it was physically overwhelming. It was physically overwhelming. And I dropped to my knees and I scream, God, take this from me. Just take it. Like, and I'm bawling my eyes out. I'm on my knees and it's so much weight, so much emotion, and so many voices going on. And and then I decided to continue on. So I stood up, I walked into the kitchen and got things set up. I'm not gonna go into anything. And I was so weak. I remember I was like, oh, I gotta write a note or something. And so I go to grab a pen and I'm trying to write, and my handwriting is bad anyway. But like I was just so weak because I was in fight or flight mode and I hadn't had proper nutrients, and I was just so weak and I couldn't write. So then I was like, what do I do? Like I don't want to leave them hanging. I want them to know that like it was nobody's fault but mine. And so I pick up the phone and I call my mother. And as I was calling, I turned around real quick because I wanted to pace back and forth in the kitchen. And so I went to turn. I spun so fast that I literally fell because I was so weak, and my eyes were just so full of tears, and I could see through the blur of my tears that were just utterly coming out that there was that red dot on the phone, which told me
Mm,
she answered. And
yeah.
so all I could muster out was is I can't. And I kept saying that like as loud as I could scream it. I just kept screaming, I can't. I can't. I can't. And my mom was dead silent. I knew she was there. I knew like innately I knew she was there. But she didn't say anything. And then it was silent for like a few minutes. And uh sorry, it's an emotional thing, so I'm trying to get through
No, no,
this.
no.
Um but yeah, so she was silent. I could hear her heavy breathing, and all she said is she's like, can you just give me like 10 minutes? She's like, I'm out of the door. She's like, just give me 10 minutes. And I was like, oh, I can do 10 minutes. I can do 10 minutes. So I literally was like baby crawling to the couch. And I sat on the couch, and then the cat that I had at the time, like, laid on my lap. And that snapped me out of this. Like, I feel like my body was coming down from the fight or flight because I remember, like, my entire arms and stuff felt like needle pricks. It was my nervous system, like, coming back to. So it literally felt like all these tiny needles were just poking my body because I was in such a hysterical state. And I remember the cat, who has since passed, unfortunately. I got a picture of him right here. I mean, that wrecked me whenever he passed because, oh man, I don't even know if I want to go in there. But he laid in my lap and it snapped me out. It snapped like it just. I remember looking down and I'm so weak. I'm so skinny. I'm I can't even tell you what I looked like. Like I just the worst I've ever felt in my life. And then I start feeling like this warmth in my chest, and I'm like, something loves me because it was he was purring in my lap, and like I was screaming and flailing around. I can't even believe he wasn't hiding under the couch. And he didn't shy from that side of me. He saw that side, but yet still laid in my lap. And then I was like, you know what? I choose life. And I said that out loud. At that point, I said, I choose life, and I'm going to do whatever I can to keep that life, like to keep it. Sorry, because because I'm worth it. At that point, that was the first time in my life that I said that I'm worth it. And uh, I was shifting. There was that shift, and in me where I finally, for the first time, said, I'm worth it. I'm worth the fight. Like my life isn't done. Like this doesn't define me. So my mother showed up, and I declined the ambulance, but they took me to a mental health hospital where I stayed for a little bit. And I lied. I lied to them. If anybody's listening, never, never lie about SI, suicidal ideation. Never, never. Please be honest, because you're worth it. You are worth it. Yes, you'll stay at a mental health hospital, but do whatever they ask you to do. Participate in group. Eat your dinner if you can. Take time. Don't force yourself, but each day try to do one thing that they ask you to do because you're worth it, and your life is worth it. The time you're in feels like it'll be like that forever, but it won't. It won't be. There's going to be hard times, but there's also going to be the good times. And I thought that was like ground zero for me. Like I thought I hit rock bottom, but actually things continued to get worse for me because I was just starting to try to understand, what is this? What am I experiencing? What is my life going to be like? And uh and it just wasn't working for me. And I finished out the program, and my boss picked me up. She came back from her thing and she picked me up. Like that's so amazing. I had so much support, and there are people out there that don't have it. And I was very blessed to have the people in my life that I did. And I decided to do one-on-one individual counseling. I did it for 2 days a week, and I went through two different therapists before I had my third one, who I considered saved my life and changed my entire outlook on life. But I'm very grateful for those therapists because a lot of people go to therapy and they decide that it's not working for them and they leave and they never try therapy again, not realizing everybody has their own approach, everybody has their own ideas, perspectives, and ways of doing things. But my therapist was like, I can tell that we're not quite working, but I have this person. So I'm going to pass the baton to them. And they passed it, and then I took it, and worked with them, and they're like, I can tell we're not going to work, but I know exactly who's going to work. And then they gave me her, and then all three of them recommended meditation and mindfulness practice. They're like, have you ever considered this? And I was like, well, shit, I got to give it a go. Like, if I truly meant what I said, then I got to try everything. And I practiced every day, 5 minutes, working up to 10 minutes a day, and then I started practicing 2 times a day. And it wasn't until that third month that I truly grasped like how I perceived my mindfulness practice. And it wasn't the idea that you silence your mind. You can quiet your mind just by focusing on your breath. It's the idea of bringing acceptance and grace to what your practice is in that moment and who you are in that moment, which allows you to give grace to yourself for when you get angry. So, like in a practice, I will sit and I will do some mindful breaths, which helps me like relax my body. So I'll take 3 deep breaths and let them out, and then I'll start my practice. And I'll begin to just bring curiosity towards how the air feels through my nose. And then I'll be like, oh shit, like Taylor asked me to do this today. I better get that done today. I got to do that. And I'm like, oh wait, thought, let's come back to the breath. Then I bring it back, not judging myself for it, just bringing curiosity to what the thought was, and then bringing it back to the breath. And so I
Mhm.
can apply that to when I get angry at Taylor. Whenever I'm absolutely mad at Taylor, I can be like, oh, like I'm more aware of myself now, right? Like that practice uses you to be more aware of yourself. So I can catch it faster because I'll be like, oh, I feel that burning sensation in my chest. What's going on? I'm angry. Why am I angry? Taylor said this, which hurt me. And I want to hurt her back because she hurt me, but that's not fair to her because I don't know what she went through that day. I have no idea.
Yeah.
She's in oncology. She sees death and despair and sadness all day, all day. I don't know what that's like. I have no idea. So who am I to hurt her back just because she hurt me? I have no idea what
Mhm.
kind of day. That's me giving grace to myself first, being like it's okay to be angry, it hurt. But then I apply grace to her because I can make a story that she's the bad person, but she's not. She's just a person like anybody else who snaps sometimes. I've been in that situation where I've said something to her that brought her to tears, and I'm like, man, I was such an ass, you know? So I know what that's like, so I can give grace to her in those moments. And that changed me. That brought acceptance to those experiences. I still experience them. I just have a better understanding and I hug it rather than try to fight it. Because the more you fight it, the bigger it
Mm.
gets.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that saved my life. So that like kind of snowballed into me being like, now I want to know what I want to know life. I want to know more about life. Give me the
Mhm.
information. Like I was telling you, at that point I
Yeah.
just wanted to learn about myself. And my wife, who was my fiance at the time, she I was talking to her about this podcast I was listening to and I was like raving about it and she's like, "Man, like," and everybody was telling me like, "Man, you really like you get life. Like I'm 60 and I don't understand like that. I've never had that, but that motivates me to understand that." I've had
Yeah.
multiple people tell me that at that point. And then my wife finally just said one day, "Why don't you just go back to school for it?" And I was like, "Yeah, why don't I?" And so I
Yeah.
did. So 3 years ago, I went to Purdue online and got my bachelor's in the science of psychology, and then I am still trucking through my Butler grad school right now. I'm about halfway done. I'll start my supervised practicum in the next year. And yeah, I mean that's like in a nutshell like my whole life really and
Yeah.
that's the story that really motivates me to do. I've talked about SI and I deal with SI is suicidal ideation and suicide awareness. And I've talked about all of that for uh, at public speaking, but I also deal with it in my day to day at the hospital that I work for right now. I run groups, like group activities for the hospital, and I teach meditation classes there. And yeah, it's just I feel so congruent with what God wants me to do now. And
Mhm.
I'm a practicing Buddhist. I practice the Eight Noble Truths and the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. But how I do it is through my Christian faith. So
Mm.
I could go into Buddhism and all that, but research it on your own, because it Buddhism doesn't ask you to worship another god or worship yourself. It's just being aware of yourself and loving yourself and learning how to bring awareness to the world around you and yourself without judging it. And that makes made me a better Christian. I reread the entire Bible, and now I do adversity classes for churches now, and I bring perspectives to people that they're like, "Oh my gosh, I've never really seen it that way." But I also have the class as an open concept, so I can have others teach me their perspectives and how they saw it, and it helps the entire class learn the relationship that they have with anger, learn the relationship that they have with anxiety and worry, learn the relationship that they have with guilt or temptation, and to realize that all of these feelings are normal. And the Bible verse that I use to really drive it home is I think it's in Romans. It says, "Be angry, but don't let the sun set on your anger." Meaning, experience anger, acknowledge it, but don't carry it and hold it because it'll turn into hate. And hatred's the poison that you drink yourself, expecting it to kill your enemies. So I don't know. It really has changed everything in my life. I have had some pretty rough times, and I ended up going through EMDR after the red carpet because there's a lot of things that I needed to address that I didn't process as a child because I didn't have that connection yet. I threw all
Mhm.
of those memories back there, and some of them were traumatic, and I had no idea. And I struggle with like unwanted intrusive thoughts that really make me feel like a Jackal and Hyde kind of deal. Like I feel like this good person because I work every day and I help people, but then I have these corrupted, unwanted thoughts that happen that are out of my control, but it still makes me feel like I have this dark side to myself. But through my mindfulness practice, I just bring acceptance to the experience. And it teaches me to hug that side of myself, saying, I see you and it's okay. But I
Mhm.
have the power to say, I don't have to be that person. And that's kind of the story. I mean, but
I am,
yeah, yeah.
I am curious because, uh, and I'm sure that this may actually be pretty helpful. Maybe your experience, and how you went about doing this, maybe it'll be helpful for somebody that's struggling with this themselves. But how did you eventually, um, get the courage, to, I have to talk to my family about this. I have to talk to my brothers about this, and be
Mm.
completely transparent to them. How did that, kind of play out?
Well, my parents kind of, I think they knew right away like something was up, but um, and my brother actually knew before any of them because I think the day I got back from Chicago, I had a talk with him. My younger brother Jake, sorry. Josh had no idea. Like me and my brothers were living in this house at that time together, and I just disappeared from their lives for like 2 weeks. That was the time where I was like at the mental health hospital and trying to get ready. So, like, I don't know Josh's experience about that. I know Jake was reaching out to me sometimes, and then like my parents were constantly involved with me at that point. But I actually didn't tell them that I was my plan. I think my mother knew over the phone because I didn't outright say it. All I could say was I can't. It wasn't until the red carpet that I actually like verbalized. It was a few weeks before, and it was at my parents' church, and I kind of confessed to everybody in that church because they're all my family. That I said it for the first time, like verbally said it outward. that like yeah, like I was planning on committing suicide that day. It I didn't want to. The reason why it took so long for me to say it verbally out loud, it wasn't due to shame anymore, because I was never ashamed of myself. I just didn't. I needed it to be for the right reason, and I wanted to make sure if I ever told anybody, it wasn't for attention or sympathy. It was for like, yes, this is me, and it had to be genuine and like you said, transparent, and it never felt like the right moment until like we were doing the filming and stuff, and then I was kind of able to be honest with them and be honest with my brothers and stuff like that. So I it doesn't feel like bravery to me. A lot of people ask me, well, how can you be so brave to talk about this stuff? Uh, it's not bravery for me. It's me showing myself without shame. And I try to do that whenever I do bad things too. I'm accountable. I look at it and be like, "You're right. That was not the right decision. I shouldn't have done that, and I'm sorry for that." And then I make steps to right that action if I can, and if I can't, I just gotta accept that. Like that's me. Like, and I love myself, and I am just human. You know, giving myself that grace so I can move forward and continue to try to be that better person. It's like Carl Rogers' idea of the ideal self and the real self. You know, there's this self that
Mm,
you want to be, that you strive to be, but then there's the realistic ideal self that
yeah,
doesn't quite make that expectations all the time, but you're always striving.
yeah,
And as long as you have that healthy, balanced relationship between them, then you should have a very a person who reaches self-actualization is what they call it. But if you're constantly seeing this idol of the person you want to be, and and you see yourself as never meeting it and always being down and depressed, you're less likely to be a very happy person and achieve your full capability. Eh, but yeah, yeah. I mean, it wasn't like this for me isn't uh shameful. Like it's not embarrassing. It's just me, and I
mhm,
love that about myself. I learned to love the thing that I wish never happened, I think is what Stephen Colbert once said.
mm.
And I try to I was like, I like that. Like you summed up my whole life in like just that paragraph or whatever.
Just that
But
one sentence, yeah.
yeah, so it's because if I didn't have that, then I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't have
Mhm.
my wife, and gonna drop it for you, my man, future kids. I'm having twins. So we
Oh,
found out.
wow.
Yeah, yep. So we had we wanted kids, but we didn't anticipate to have two right off the bat.
Yeah, yeah,
But I wouldn't have that. I wouldn't have my wife's family, who they're just so kind, so generous, very
mhm,
smart, and very hardworking. I wouldn't have gotten to experience any of that if I
mhm,
hadn't experienced that moment in my life, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, I think, it was, um I think it's Tony Robbins is his name. He was talking to some guy who was, um, kinda on the verge and, ki or kinda on the edge, I really guess is the better way to put it, and, Tony really kinda broke it down, kinda in the same way you did, where he was just like, "You're putting such high standards on yourself." And he's like, "I love that because this is the person that you wanna be. But the person that you wanna be is unattainable because that high standard you've set, that's perfection, and you're not gonna be
Mhm,
perfect." And
exactly.
just to see that guy have, like I say it all the time, sometimes, like, even whenever, like, I'm just at work and I'm, like, fiddling around with tools and someone says, "Oh, well, why don't you just do this?" Like, sometimes you just need something so simple like that in just about every aspect of your life, to have just that little aha, that little light bulb moment, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and for me, like the ideal self is like the what would Jesus do movement kind of deal. Like I
Yeah.
Jesus was such a great teacher. You know, there's a reason why he didn't just he wasn't just born and then killed immediately, because if that was his only purpose, was to die for our sins, then why didn't he just die as a baby? But
Yeah.
like he taught us how to be human and how to accept everyone regardless of their beliefs, even if they're against your beliefs, you still show them that grace because Jesus and God still loves them. Like he
Mhm.
died so we don't have to have those wars that we had in in the Old Testament. So we don't have to have the Ten Commandments. We just have love thy neighbor as thyself, which God says that you have to learn to love yourself before you can love your neighbor. That's why he
Yeah.
adds the as you love yourself. And then have no other God before me. He went from 10 to 2 because like that's just so much grace there.
Mhm.
And I always use the story of Judas. Like Judas was meant to be the person to sell out Jesus. He was meant to be
Yeah.
that person, but he wasn't meant to be left hanging at the tree at the end of his story. His story was meant to see Jesus again 3 days later, and Jesus showing him his hands and saying, "Yeah, you did this, but that's okay. Like I love you. You still have
Mhm.
the opportunity to be this
Yeah.
great person, you know." And that just I think it puts like hits the nail on the head of why suicide isn't the answer, because you never know when that 3 days later that moment of grace comes, that light at the end of the tunnel, or that tunnel that you finally or that hole that you finally climbed out of, and you see and you reap the wealth that comes with that, the knowledge
Yeah.
and the adversity and the ability to get through adversity and learning new sides of yourself, like me. So
Yeah.
it's a story that I use quite often. Like
Yeah.
don't sell yourself short right now. It might be dark now, but just think of like what it'll be like when the time gets better. Because
Mhm.
there's always going to be the dark times. There's always going to be the good. You can just learn to accept all of it, because
Mhm.
there's positives in all of it, really.
Yeah. And so I kinda wanna, ask you now, because obviously it sounds like you're more in tune now with your faith, versus where you were, in that dark spot. So how did you kind of, I don't wanna say the phrase "get back on the horse," but kinda how did you kinda, I guess, um, find God again and then kinda understand, like, "Yes, I need to be following, and I'm going to commit to, or commit my life and my passions and my following to Christ."
For sure. I wouldn't say like I ever got off the horse, but I I think while I was studying Buddhism and like really understanding and learning about myself, which I'd say was a
Mm,
2 year period, I think there was like also that shift. So I would say I wouldn't say that I got off the horse, but I would say like my relationship and dynamic with God changed.
mm,
And I think that
okay,
was his intention, because he's like, "Hey, hey, hey, like you're seeing like Jesus coming to this earth and saying and doing these things as black and white. Like you shouldn't do this and you should do this, and if you're doing this, this is bad." He's like, "That's not it." He's like, "I'm saying I love you
mm,
unconditionally. It means there's no condition in which you will not have my love. You will not have my grace. I will always love you, even if you turn your back on me forever. I will love you. Even if you're in hell, I will love you. I still love you. I never will forsake you, regardless." And to have that changed my dynamic, my relationship with Christianity and God. It went from being fear driven to motivated to read the Bible again, motivated to understand
mhm,
and see the new lens that I was given,
yeah,
motivated to act in that way that Jesus did to everybody. Because I
yeah,
know like
mm,
that's a healing experience for people, and it's needed in my work. And I don't have to do it by saying I'm a Christian and I do this and this is how I act. I'll act this way, and then people will ask, like, do you have a faith? Do you believe? And then I can share. God gives you those opportunities. You just got to
mhm,
wait for them. You got to be patient. things come to those who are patient, right?
Yeah,
And it's not always going to be in the moments where you want to either,
yeah.
but through your actions alone, they're going to feel that love and grace that God gave you, that He is giving to that person that they might not even feel. So I wouldn't say like I ever got off the horse, but my I guess like my glasses got better. Like I went
Mhm.
from having these blurred glasses where I could kind of I had a moral drive, but it was for a different wrong purpose, just out of fear. I wasn't
Yeah,
doing it because I know what it's like to receive love and grace. I was doing it out of fear because if I don't do this, I'm going to go to hell. Instead, now I'm saying, wow, I love this grace. I love this unconditional love. I want people to experience this. So now
mhm.
I'm riding the horse with a better set of lenses. They're not the best. They're
You just
not
need some
2020.
glasses cleaner, that's all, yeah.
Yeah, they're not the best. They're not 2020, but because I fail every day. But like, and something that's much like the Buddhist practice has meditation, that is a constant reminder and a constant practice. My relationship with my wife and my experience with creating life are my tangible ways of seeing what it's like to be God. Like Taylor, like the sides of myself, that like especially whenever I'm experiencing some very deeply disturbing and unwanted intrusive thoughts, I hate that side of myself.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I feel like such a bad person. And in those moments, Taylor's unconditional love still exists. She will remind me that she still loves me, she trusts me, and she gives me that grace. That's what it's like to be God, like to receive that kind of love physically. Like God is
Yeah,
giving me that love, but then He also gave me Taylor to feel that physically. And then me and Taylor are getting ready to have kids. When our kids are born, I guarantee you, we're going to have like this idea of how we're going to parent them and like the environment we want them to be in and the
yeah,
steps that they take so they can be proper and kind people in society. But at the end of the day, they still have the free will to be themselves. That's what it's like to be God. You love something, you give them a set of rules, and you teach them this is love and kindness, and ultimately they're still going to be their own person. So
yeah.
yeah, God gives us physical, tangible ways of and reminders of, hey, this is what it's like to be me. So it's just, yeah, yeah. So these are
Not
all
so easy, is
aspects
it
that
there,
I,
kiddo? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Uh, we just, I don't know. I like not saying we're God Himself because we could never probably give that much unconditional love and grace. But but yeah, I mean that's just a tangible reminder. Like just
Mhm,
like meditation's a tangible reminder of the philosophy of mindfulness, being mindful.
mhm,
So like all of those things just so I don't really say I'm religious anymore. I say spiritual, like because I think
mhm,
that's more accurate. Because religion it I mean I do have like a religious relationship because I think religion is a relationship with. I think that's what the word means. I can't remember. I'd have to remember. But anyway,
I think, like, in the
I'd have to look
actual
it up.
Greek, yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
it's
it's like the
something
Greek
like "to
word
be
for
with." Yeah.
yes, yes, thank you, thank you. And so like I am with God, but it's more of a spiritual experience. Like I feel the Holy
Mhm,
Spirit in me. And the where I feel it the most is whenever I'm brought back to the current moment that God gives me. Because I believe God gives you adversity to make you into the person you ask Him to make you. He doesn't just snap
mm,
a finger because that's against your free will. Like if He could just snap fingers, He'd be snapping fingers, changing everybody, because everybody's praying about it.
yeah,
But He gives you opportunities to be that person in hard ways. He's that clay maker and you have
yeah,
to apply pressure to make the pottery that you want to be. And that pressure is the adversity. And sometimes you take that right turn, like on your GPS, you'll take that right turn too early. That's you making a mistake. But God's like, that's okay, because GPS reroutes you, right? So He'll
mhm,
give you another turn later on that'll still help you be that person and get you to the destination that He intended you to be. That person
yeah,
He intended you to be before you go to heaven.
yeah,
I mean, that's just grace God giving us grace and saying, that's okay. Like, here's another opportunity. Here's your chance to like take that left turn right on time and keep going on course. There's
Yeah.
always that opportunity. I think there's a lot of people that continue to take that left turn and never take the reroute, but
Mhm.
that's just how it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know exactly where I was going with it, but I think you get the point.
Yeah. 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 Um, so changing people's perception here. It's kind of the whole shtick of this show. Um, how would you today try to change the perception of suicide, having kind of experiencing it and getting to just that absolute moment and then backing out? But how would you also try to help raise awareness for it today? Because obviously the big stigma that I hear a lot is, oh, it's all in your head. And like,
Mm,
yes, scientifically it's all in my head, but that's also the thing is that it's all in my head. um, and obviously you being a male, um, male
mhm.
suicide is, I mean, drastically, I think like 80% higher than female suicide. So
Yeah.
how would you also like to bring awareness to that as well today through your own words?
Oh man. Like I
Yeah, gave
think
you a lot there.
yeah, yeah. Well, to answer the first one before I get to the male one, yeah, that's the t most terrifying thing, and I think that's what leads a lot of uh people to suicide is it is all in your head, and because like as a counselor and future therapist, you can lead a horse to water, but they have to start taking that drink, in the water,
Mhm,
and uh, meaning like a therapist works alongside you. They don't solve your problems. If you're laying your problems on one person to fix, it's not going to happen. What where the work is you learning how to fix your own problems, learning how to cope, or learning how to deal with whatever comes your way, and that's the most terrifying thing. Like for me, I started realizing, oh, like the therapist can't save me from this. Like I have to save myself. And it took me months, like months. I worked hard, so hard, and I still work hard every day because I feel like I'm still barely treading water. I feel like I'm on that razor's edge. I could just tip back over and go back to that mental health hospital any day now. I mean, truthfully, like I feel like it's that battle, and I accept that battle. Like it's the one that God gave me for a reason.
mm,
It makes me and continues to make me the person I am.
mm,
Um, but it's hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. And because it is all in your head, and that's a place where only you know. Like I can't know what's in your head, 24/7. I can't
mm.
change what's in your head. I'm not, what is that? Telepath or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
Whatever
something like
Mr.
that.
X is or whatever
Yeah,
his name.
telepath, yeah.
Uh I can't do that for you. I can give you tools that you have to use. I can give you different perspectives of mine that I have developed throughout my journey, but that's my journey. What's yours? And
Mhm,
sometimes other people's perspectives do give you bits and pieces that you can take, and that's what I love about human interaction and reading books and studying is because I won't take the whole thing. I'll just take little things that I'm like, oh, I love that. Oh, I
mm,
like that too. And then learning how to put that all in my life puzzle that I have. Um, but that's all I can say about it, man. It's all in your head, and that's the toughest journey, but if you hang in there, you'll learn it. You'll learn yourself. You'll learn about yourself. In that process, you're gonna learn so much about yourself, and and if you have to, write it in a journal every day. Like the issues, problems, or experiences that bother you the most, write them down. See if they have patterns. See what they are. Understand why. you're having dreams constantly about you being alone and running from somebody that's hurting you? Are you feeling alone outside of your dreams? Is that a weight that you've been carrying on a backpack your whole life? You're like, I feel alone, nobody understands me, and that's why you're having those dreams. Writing it in a journal or saying it out loud sometimes helps you to see those patterns. Whenever you understand those patterns, then you can apply the tools that the counselor gave you to see if those work. And if not, the counselor's there to work again alongside you, not for you, alongside you to help you figure out something that does. That's what I
Mhm.
have to say about anybody experiencing suicide is just don't give up because you're worth it, and the journey's worth it because you learn so much about yourself. And then you're going to find that passion and desire, that goal that you're meant to have, and whether it's helping people or building things or developing new technology that will save the world or something. I don't know. Whatever it is you'll find it. And
Yeah.
for men, I know what it's like to be a man. It's tough. There's that weight of you have to know everything. You have to have all the answers. You have to be you like if a man is good at making vehicles, it makes the other man feel like lesser of a man because he didn't know how to make a vehicle. There's all that weight of having answers and being that strong man for their wife and kids later on in the future. And I I I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing to have a drive to learn and to experience, but don't put the saddle or don't saddle yourself with the responsibility to automatically know things. Once you let go of that, once you take that backpack off, that or take that weight out of the backpack, whatever, however other much weight you have in there, that might be just one weight. But once you take that off, you're going to be so much more honest, so much more transparent, and that makes you a good person in a relationship. Because then that person can trust you a lot more, and trust is huge, and they can see you for who you actually are. They're not finding it out years later, after you've been
Yeah.
dating for a few months or a year down the road. They already know who you are. And that's what I did with Taylor. I said, "This is me. Here it is." Like I didn't just pour it all out at once. You slowly,
Baby steps,
properly.
yeah.
But anytime there's a question asked, and it's a question that you don't want to answer yet,
Mhm.
like for instance, Taylor was getting hints about that story I told you about because my parents were kind of mentioning it, and this was before we even made this film. And so she brought it up one day as I was driving her home, and I was like, "I'm not comfortable talking about that right now, but I need you to know that I trust you, and when the time's right for myself, I will share this, but right now, like, I'm emotionally too close to that moment, you know?" And I
Mhm.
did. I waited 6 months because she asked me 2 other times after that. And then I finally spilled that side of myself because I felt like it was too early on to be sharing that stuff. Like, I don't need her to carry that weight yet. I don't know anything, like, I don't know enough about her yet. I want to learn about you too. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to know everything about me all at once. And that's what she wanted. But
Yeah.
she respected me enough to wait. And that was awesome of her. I love that so much about her. We love to get in arguments a lot, but what I love about her the most is that she practices what I practice. After an hour goes by, we'll meet each other, and I will say, "I'm sorry that, like, what I did made you feel this way." Because I learned about her perspective in that moment. Like, I may have thought
Mhm.
my action was great and it was a good thing. And maybe it was
Yeah.
a good thing, but in her eyes, it felt like I was diminishing her ability to do that? And I didn't
Right.
see that or think about it, and it makes me feel like this bad person, which makes me wanna get mad at her for making me feel this way. But
Mhm.
instead, I can and even if I do get mad at her, I can always come back whenever I realize what I've done and apologize and be accountable for that. Because it's
Mhm.
not fair to her to just because she said something that hurt you doesn't mean you have to just make her world miserable too? And she does the
Right.
exact same. She'll come back and be like, "I'm sorry that I made you feel this way whenever I said that." I'm sorry. And that's whenever I was like, I'm gonna get a ring for this girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, uh, just be honest and be transparent as possible. Nobody's gonna ever fully understand you except for yourself, but you got to learn how to understand yourself. And
Mm,
for men, I think being honest and transparent is one of the hardest and scariest things that they can do. And that's like, I could give you a full list of other things that would help a man, but I just, the number one would be honest and transparent with others. And it teaches you about yourself too. You'll know what you're good at and what you're not. Because like,
mhm.
so what? You're not good at making a car and another guy is. Well, you'll find out when you are honest and you're like, "Oh, I know this stuff. That guy with who knows how to make cars doesn't know how to do this." So he's going to be coming to you. So it's yeah, just honesty and transparency is the number one for sure.
Yeah,
Uh, let go of the pride. I
yeah.
I have to work on that. I'm preaching to myself too.
Yeah, the pot said to the kettle. So,
But
but,
yeah,
no,
honesty will help relinquish that idea that you're not the man, which will further, I feel like, prevent
mhm,
suicidal ideation because, like, then the man won't feel like they're worthless and not meant to be on this earth. So,
yeah, yep,
so
yep.
the true answer is I don't know. Like, that's a suggestion. That's my perspective,
Yeah,
but that's the real answer is I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, and hey, you're talking about being honest, and you're being honest, and that's awesome, so, and I've really appreciated your story today, Justin, I really, really have, so, um, thank you for sharing it and also into such detail as well,
I
so,
love to talk, man.
yeah. So go ahead, take this, time and just kinda let people know where they can find you, or any, other
Oh,
information you'd like them to know.
hmm. Oh, well, I'm currently working on a book that's called Grace Not Guilt, so look out for that. I don't have Facebook, TikTok. I do have Instagram, but it's a private one,
Yeah.
so I don't know if I'll accept any requests. I like to keep it pretty private. If I met the person physically, so if I deny your request, anybody who's listening, I apologize. It's nothing against you. It's just I like to keep things private. Um,
Professionally,
I
where
don't
where
have.
could people find you?
Uh, I'm a pretty private person. I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that. You will find me if you're looking for me, I guess. If you
You will
look hard
find him if
enough.
you're looking for him. Yeah.
Yeah. You could always reach out to Thomas if you ever need to talk.
That too, I guess, yeah. So, well,
I've
thank
never
you
had
so
that question, so yeah, like I don't know. Yeah, Instagram, that's about it.
yeah. Well, we'll also be looking out for the book too, Grace Not Guilt. So,
Yes, yeah, yep,
yep,
Grace Not Guilt. It's in the process. There's another book, but that won't come till much, much later
yeah,
in my life, just because that's such a deep dive into it. I've read like 37 different books for references for the other book I'm talking about, but
mhm,
this one is just my perspective on kind of like my faith, but also like it's also good for people who aren't faith-based,
mhm,
realizing that you don't have to hold on to the guilt of your mistakes because the present moment is all that you have. The future hasn't happened. The past is already done.
yeah,
You can still change that version of yourself, taking the steps.
yeah,
So learning how guilt creeps into your life like just this ribbon as thin as a ribbon. It can creep into your life and then it grows into a tree.
yeah,
And how you can switch that to grace, being like, I am who I am, and I love myself, and I can do better.
yeah.
It's kind of the summary of it.
Well,
But
good.
yep,
Well,
yeah,
good.
look for that in the next year or so.
Sweet. We'll be doing that. So thank you so much for being on today, bud. I really do appreciate you. And again, thank you for also again just sharing your story and being transparent with that and providing awareness as well.
Yeah, yeah.
If anybody watching today does need help, the number for the suicide prevention line will be in the description below. But thank you so much for watching today's episode. I am Thomas Casey Zellers. And if you want, please follow us on Instagram. Also, maybe donate to the Patreon and find out some interesting rewards. So I'll see you in the next one. Later.